Hello and welcome to This Really Happened, a place where unbelievable, heart-touching true stories come to life. Sometimes surprising, sometimes bittersweet, always real. Grab a drink and settle in. We're about to begin. Kate carefully inked yet another circle on the wall calendar, her fingers clamped around a black marker. I really ought to find a red one, she thought. A happy milestone is coming, yet I'm using a mourning colour. Surely an ill omen, marking bright dates in gloomy ink. She counted the circled days and sighed. Exactly 2 months left until the due date the district clinic had set. The pregnancy had proved anxious, full of the classic swings. 1 minute she wanted to sob, the next to bounce off the ceiling with joy. The evening before, her husband Tony had caught her at a bizarre snack, happily biting flakes from a stick of white classroom chalk and chewing them with relish. Ultrasound promised a boy. Margaret, her mother-in-law, and Tony had already bought a mountain of newborn clothes, of course, in steadfast blues. Who invented those silly rules about colours for boys and girls? Kate snorted. They affect neither health nor happiness. The clinic doctor, though, had sounded a sharper note. Mom-to-be, your calcium is almost nil. Drink milk, eat cottage cheese, treat yourself to poppy buns, lots of calcium there, but gently, or you'll gain too much weight. Otherwise, you'll have no teeth by term. You've already filled 3 cavities and lost 2 teeth this pregnancy. Please take it seriously. Kate was stunned, but, as usual, her own mum Faith calmed her by phone with brisk advice. Love, when you and Paulie were little, we licked the stairwell paint. No fancy diets back then. 1 kilo of buckwheat, 1/2 kilo of meat, a slab of butter a week. And look, you both grew strong. If calcium's really bad, buy school chalk, chew a couple of boxes, and the calcium'll come back. Just don't take coloured sticks. This is about use, not beauty. Kate had laughed. Pharmacies overflowed with shiny supplements, and the antenatal clinic's foyer flashed ads promising miracle pills. She trusted none of them. But accident, odd and powerful, intervened. On their landing lived a girl Margaret called that impossible swot. A few days later, Kate met the studious youngster outside the stationery shop. The girl beamed. Auntie Kate, I'm so glad I found you. Teacher said to bring coloured paper and paints tomorrow. Mum's on late shift. I smashed my piggy bank, but I'm scared to go in alone. Then let's go, Kate said brightly. I haven't been in a shop like that for ages, and I've meant to buy a pattern pad. Now's the time. Let's wander. They prowled every display, and Kate spotted a box of snow-white chalk she suddenly longed to taste. She bought 2 packs and waited till ever-present Margaret left the flat. Kate was enjoying maternity leave. No work, bliss. She tried to spend little time at home. A whole day beside Tony's mother was no treat. Better fresh air than chatter with that old rat, she thought, glancing round in case anyone had heard her heretical mood. To city-bred, aristocratic Margaret, Kate was a rough country girl. In the delicate china kitchen, she felt like an elephant in a glass shop, unsure how to sit or parry the woman's nitpicking. At Kate's first visit, no one even offered tea in the grand parlour, too much honour for a yokel from a place where people still walked to a pole for signal, and the internet had arrived only 2 years ago. To her granddad, it was still a useless UFO. Kate's mind slipped to that village cottage, Grandad sipping samovar tea, jerking twice and falling silent at 90. She'd been terrified, yet not surprised. Faith, her mother, had borne Kate late by a travelling manager. The lively store clerk had already been casting eyes at married locals in hope of gallant love, but the wives kept tight reins. Faith herself was a mini Venus, tiny with wasp waist and generous curves that embarrassed even the PE teacher. At 18, she suddenly shot up to 5'11". The curves scaled up too. Village men stared, wives glared, rumours flew, all rubbish. At trade college, Faith fell for a city basketballer. Flames roared. She soon became pregnant and panicked, ending it in a backstreet clinic. Later, the doctor's sentence that she might never carry again left her dry-eyed. Who thinks of motherhood at 18 with no roof of her own? Faith's mother had died in the tomato fields, blood clot, scorching sun. With no one for women's talk, her father raised her kindly if roughly. He ignored gossip about her figure. He himself was tall and broad. "You turned out splendid. Don't heed the gossips. Finish college, come home. My grandchildren will live in our house." Faith obeyed. The basketballer drifted off. She took over the village store, later added a tavern. Travellers and lorry drivers couldn't resist the statuesque hostess. Locals shrugged. Better strangers than our own men wandering. Faith was generous. Jealous wives found cheap vodka missing for a while. A penniless husband got boots on credit. Leo, Kate's father, was short and slight, yet irresistible. Seeing Faith behind the counter, he froze, then spouted poetry, probably his own, and showered her with orchids, French perfume, Belgian chocolates, even took her to the Black Sea. One flaw, he was married. His wife lived lavishly in the capital and ignored his flings. When Faith fell pregnant, heaven alone knows how, Leo packed up and vanished. Faith and her father rejoiced, a child's laughter again. Leo was a roving crisis manager, raising any plant from ruin. After he left, no trace remained. Was he ever real? Villagers mused. So Kate was born when Faith was 40, adored by mother and granddad. Then, out of the blue, a German engineer, Hans, working at the fertilizer works, fell for Faith. A giant of a man, red-cheeked, perfect Russian. One day he lifted Faith over a slushy puddle by her fur collar. Onlookers gasped. "Practical," he said. "Come to Germany. I own a sawmill in the Alps. You'll have air, a chalet. Your daughter stays in Russia." Grandad said, "Go if you like him. Kate will stay with me." 2 years later, Faith bore Paul. Hans forbade large gifts home. Frugality is frugality, but Christmas parcels were allowed, as were phone calls and later Skype. By then, Kate had gone to the city. Villagers smiled kindly at Kate. She looked like Faith, but scaled down. "Kate, you ought to try drama school," they'd say. She laughed it off. "I'll be a bookkeeper, or maybe a nurse." Later, she realized she loved cooking and applied to culinary college. She was sipping blackcurrant tea, glad Margaret was out, when the doorbell rang. Odd, Tony and Margaret both had keys. On the landing stood the SWAT's mum. "Kate, please come down. Margaret fainted after a phone call. She's on the bench outside. We've called an ambulance." Kate dashed down. A neighbour waved smelling salts. Margaret's eyes fluttered, locked on Kate, and whispered, "Disaster." Tony fell at the sight, dead. Colours swam. Kate clutched her belly, dropped onto the curb. Voices blurred. "Give us space, emergency, and the wife, she'll go into labour from shock." A jab, darkness. She woke 3 days later. Tony was already buried. "We barely saved the baby," the doctor said. "Your mother-in-law's in cardiology." Tony's coffin had stayed closed. His firm handled it all. Why had he stepped to an unglazed window on the 25th floor? 10 days later, the file was stamped accident. Margaret was released the same week. Until the birth, they tiptoed around each other, even visited the grave together. Margaret softened, surrendered the kitchen, even fetched pineapples and chalk. A week before, term stress put Kate in hospital. Baby Johnny arrived like sunshine, jet-black curls, huge grey-blue eyes. Margaret doted and emptied her treasure chest, starship pram, transformer changing table, lavish crib, armies of toys and clothes. Kate protested, then let Grandma reign. By 3 months Johnny thrived. Kate even slept nights. Life seemed calm, until one night thirst woke her. From Margaret's room came a hushed whisper. She was heading back to bed when she heard her own name and froze, eavesdropping. I can't wait till Tony comes home. My poor boy barely agreed to this cruel charade. I've put up with that country dumpling a year only for a grandchild, but not from such a plump yokel. She can't dress or style her hair, only cook. I've arranged a reference saying she stole food and drink. Her mum's in Germany, no help. Grandad's dead. Tony alive? Kate's legs buckled. Could her husband have acted loving for a year waiting for the baby? Resolution flashed. Flee to Grandad's cottage. At dawn, while Margaret dozed under sedatives, Kate packed 2 big bags, just essentials, and slipped out with Johnny. The luxury kit stayed behind in that house of betrayal. Tony had already cursed the whole scheme. He'd met plump, laughing Kate in the canteen she ran and fallen hard. After his frosty, critical mother, this sunny cook felt like home. But Margaret's dream bride Liz, fresh from English studies, had reappeared, exquisite, educated, wealthy, and barren. A ruthless plan had been hatched. Now, summoned from Switzerland, Tony told his mother Liz was an empty shell. How on earth did you think I could live with that soulless doll? He guessed Kate would run to Grandad's cottage and set off by bus. Night had fallen when he reached the village lane. He hesitated at the gate, rehearsing an apology, but there she stood on the porch, Johnny in her arms. Joy surged. He was a father. Kate, sweetheart, forgive me. We'll start over. We'll leave Mother, get a place of our own. You're mistaken, she said quietly. He's another man's child. She invited him to stay. They'd test paternity in the morning. Tony stumbled away, dazed. Kate felt a rock lift. She had finally told the truth. Johnny was Theo Raven's son. A year earlier, a colleague's hen's night, a rock band in leather, Theo, Raven, buying her leggings when her tights split, the snow-soft night that made Johnny, then the band rolled on, leaving only bittersweet memory. Back in the village, Kate found Grandad's letter with 2 crisp 5,000 ruble notes. Buy yourself something. She wept, then took a part-time cook's job at a new dairy plant, baby in tow. Life evened out. DNA proved Tony wasn't the father. Margaret raged, Tony moved out, the divorce flew through. Only Johnny's curls kept Kate smiling. Theo, now 30, sat in a penthouse office, a year out of law school with top honours, hair shorn, leather gone, guitar gathering dust. Old bandmates had families. Irene, the bride, and her drummer had twins, and another on the way. She'd said Kate had married and vanished. Theo loathed corporate galas, but duty called. His firm was marking a huge contract. A restaurateur friend raved about the catering. Where did you dig up that genius? I've never seen appetizers like these. Poached her from the provinces, the friend said, and phoned. Moments later she walked in, Kate. Theo's heart punched his ribs. In his tailored suit she didn't recognize him. The party wound down. Kate hurried off. Johnny was with the neighbour. Outside, Theo seized her hand. Kate, it's me, Raven. She trusted the jolt in her chest. After Tony, she'd measured every man against this rock musician and found them wanting. Walking her home, he said, I go by Theo now. At the entrance, she halted. You have a son, Johnny. He's 5. Decide right now. Are you Dad or Uncle Theo? Silence filled the lift. On the landing, Johnny barreled out, black curls bouncing, huge dark eyes studying the stranger. "Hi there, son," Theo said softly. "Let's go inside. I have a lifetime to tell you about, and I hope you'll forgive me for being away so long." High above, two once parallel lines quietly crossed, witnessed only by three souls: a black-haired man, a black-haired boy, and a pleasantly plump woman who still smelled faintly of vanilla.